Now, I want to start today by talking to you a little bit about the city, and then I'll stop because I think you have some questions for me. By saying to you that the most important message I could impart to you today in talking to you, besides about education or Oakland or civic engagement or whatever, is just very much to encourage you to vote when you're 18. I can't think of anything that's more important. And beyond voting, organize with each other and vote as a group. When I teach university classes, can I mark on your board? I'm sorry, it's a habit. You all think I'm just going to write something on the board. Anybody tell me what that is? Besides being a silly acronym, ARP. It's the sound my dog makes when he's hungry. ARP. Anybody know? Any guesses? You're all too young, right? But one day you'll be 48 years old. You won't even be 50 yet, and you'll get a letter in the mail. And it will come from the AARP, which is the American Association of Retired People. Okay? Oh, yeah. Now I put that up there because that's just an organization that's dedicated to old people. They are what's called in politics an interest group. That means they're a group of different people. They're as different as anybody you can imagine, but the one thing they all share in common is age. And the other thing they all share in common is they all vote, and whatever little amounts of money they have, they pool it and they give it to candidates. And those candidates go to Sacramento, those candidates go to Washington, D.C., and they pass laws, including laws that affect old people. And those candidates don't forget, never forget, where that money and that support came from. In fact, they are probably the most feared lobby group. A lobby group is a group of people that try and persuade people in government, right? They're the most feared group in Washington, D.C. Nobody messes with them. Nobody messes with them. Now, what do they know that you don't know? They know that you shouldn't leave your telephone on when you come into the classroom. Sorry, that's very bad. Stop. I beg your pardon, I'm sorry. They know that you don't ever let an election go by without giving money. The money's not so important, but without pooling your votes, right? As I said, every different ethnicity, every different sexuality, they live all over the country, they're all different people, but the one thing they all share is they're all about the same age. And that means the issues that they think affect people their age are issues that they worry about. How many of you in class know what Social Security is? Anybody? Show of hands. Big show of hands. How many of you know? Now, the rest of you better know. You want to know why? Because the moment you get a job, your first job, you're going to be paying into Social Security. That's a government program. And here's the kicker. It doesn't benefit you. Guess who it benefits? Old people, right? That's what it is. Because when you're retired, our government gives you a little bit of, it sounds like a pension, but it's not really a pension, but it's something like that. They give you a check when you don't work anymore to help you make your bills. Because when you don't have a job, you don't have much money, right? They're not paying into it because they've already paid into it. You know who pays into it? You do. And I do too. When it's my turn, I'll do in that system too. And so will you teachers and administrators. We'll all be in that system. Right now, this group has a lot to say about Social Security because our government, Barack Obama, our president, is looking at how to balance all of our bills. And one of the biggest things we pay for besides our military is Social Security. It's very expensive. It's hugely expensive. So they're talking about, every time they look at the budget, they say, well, maybe we should not give Social Security to everybody. For example, if you're a rich person in this country, you can still get Social Security. But the truth is, they don't need that money. They already have money, right? If you're poor, it's a different situation. But the moment they talk in Washington about cutting back Social Security, this group opens its big collective mouth and says, not happening. And so the people in Washington get scared and they sit down and they don't change the system. And you know who's going to pay for that, like I said? You. Now imagine, instead of calling this the AARP, we called this the AAYP. All of you at 18 registered to vote, but you weren't individuals, you were a group, and you organized in this city. Forget Washington, let's just talk California and Oakland. Many of you, I'm sure in this class, would like to go to college, wouldn't you? How many of you want to go to college? You better all raise your hands or I'm coming after you. Okay, good. Right? How many of you think you might go into the Cal State system, like maybe Cal State East Bay or San Francisco State, a couple of you? How about into the UC system? Some of you like to go to UC? Okay, those are state schools, right? Tax dollars go to pay for those things. In the state of California and in Sacramento, our legislators influence the amount of money that goes into both those school systems. Sacramento, as you know, also controls our state capital, the money that we get here in Oakland for your funding right now. Imagine, now you won't necessarily be old enough to vote by the time before you leave high school, right, to affect your schooling now. But imagine if you could vote today, and all of you did, what public funding for education might be. What are the kinds of resources you might have here if this was you? Imagine how it might change when you go to college. You know, they're talking about raising tuition in the CSU system you're going to go to in another couple of years, right? You think they'd mess with that if this was you?
No.
No. And it's not because they don't like you. It's because you're not there to them. You're not even on their radar. Why? Because young people don't vote. And when they do, they don't vote in blocks, big mass. You want to be heard? You want to be relevant? You want to control your future? Vote. Organize. And vote as a group. If you got 50 cents, throw it in the pot. Right? Because if 1,000 of you throw 50 cents in, that's some money. And then you've got some clout. And that is, unfortunately, how the game is played in a democracy. The money's not as important as the voting, right? But what's more important than the voting is voting together. Voting together. All right, I'll get off my soapbox now. That's the first message I wanted to impart to you. And believe me, if you did that, you could change the system. You really could. You really could. Truth is, unfortunately, young people don't always vote unless there's a really exciting candidate they get behind, right? For 1,000 different reasons. But if you want to change the system, vote.